on this episode of the Naturist Living Show, Telling Others.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show is brought to you by Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park. At Bear Oaks, we offer traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Free your body, free your mind. www.bearoaks.ca.
Welcome, dear listener, to episode 67 of the Naturist Living Show. And I'm very excited to say that we got our first audio comment on the comment line. So let's listen to it.
Hi, Stefan. It's Michael Connolly, your friend from Facebook from down in Australia. I was listening to your podcast today about geocaching, or you pronounce it slightly different to us Aussies, but anyway. Great podcast as usual, mate, and very interested in listening to the academic nudist there. And he mentioned about nude bushwalking, about the great feeling it is. Yes, being a big advocate of it myself, going for nude hikes every lunchtime, I'm sort of got used to it. That sort of I don't feel that sensation as much as the first time I did it many years ago. But if you ever want to talk about nude bushwalking, I'm more of a solo one, but there's a couple of groups in Australia that get into it, and there's one mob you should check out is Fat Canyoners, or fatcanyoners.org. A group of them get out in the Blue Mountains nude bushwalking. I haven't been able to hook up with them, as they tend to go on dates when I can't get time off. But anyway, I've written a nude bushwalking article, which ended up on a textile bushwalking blog, and you can find links to that on my website, which is nudeyman.com.
Well, thank you, Michael. And actually, that would be an interesting discussion. Maybe I'll give you a call or send you a quick Facebook message, and we can find a way to connect over Skype and talk about nude hiking or free hiking, or as you call it, nude bushwalking. So thank you for leaving the comment. And by the way, that website is Nudeyman, Nudeyman.com. Michael got cut off a little bit at the end, and I think what I need to do is increase the length of the space available for comments so people don't get cut off. And reminding everybody again, if you want to leave your own comment, it's as simple as calling in. You can call with Skype. Our Skype name is Bear Oaks, Bareoaks, Bear Oaks, and that puts you into the main phone number for the park here in Canada. And it's extension 333, or if you want to use an old-fashioned phone, you can dial 905, country code 1 if you're outside of U.S. and Canada, country code 1-905-473-6060, and again, extension 333. Hey, Felicity, how's it going?
Hey, Stefan, it's going good. How's it going with you?
Oh, it's awesome. It's summer. It's hot. I love it this time of year. But, the question I really want to know the answer to is how was the first few spa nights, nude spa nights?
They've gone really well. We got a really big turnout at our first Sunday. And the next one was really quiet. It was Mother's Day. And the third one was, again, over 70 people. And now it got quiet again because it got so nice out and everyone wants to be outside of the beach.
Yeah, that's true. I can understand that.
Yeah.
So you're happy? You're going to keep going?
Yeah, it's going well. It's just we've actually been facing some issues with the regular membership, the women who are members who attend during the week.
Why are they don't want to come on the nude night?
Yeah, they not so much. They really don't understand it actually, and just they found out about it, and there's just been a lot of gossiping and rumors going around because they don't really know what goes on, and they kind of imagine something, I think, much more wild than it is. And we even had one of the staff members, one of the trainers, resigned over it. And she was just like, oh, I keep hearing about, the members are expressing all of these concerns, and I have to say I agree with them, and so I'm resigning.
Okay, so wait, I'm not understanding. So the regular members, when they go, there's no nudity anywhere, right?
Right.
And when there's nudity, it's well after they've all gone and things are closed, right?
Yes, it's a private event that happens outside of regular gym hours and has no effect on the regular members whatsoever.
So they don't see any nudity. It's not like there's like pictures of naked people laying on the floor that they see in the morning when they show up or anything like that.
No, there's no evidence of us after we're gone.
So what is the concern they're complaining about?
Oh, I don't know. We don't really get it. I mean, we published this blog, and we also wrote out this open letter to Terlam explaining what Naturism is about, what YNA represents, what kind of environment we're trying to create at the spa during our events. And, hopefully we sort of address some of their concerns, and now maybe some of them read it and understand more of what's going on. And we also offer to do a meeting with the members, with Jordan and I, just to answer their questions about it.
Is that going to happen?
We'll see. I mean, I think, I'm not sure at this point, but, we'd love to do that. And even if only a few of the members show up, it's fine if they take in the information and then they talk to the other women about it and kind of tell everyone what's going on. But, I think they just don't understand it, and kind of rumors start and they gossip, and things get a little blown out of proportion, I guess. I mean, one of the women came in calling Joshua a pornographer.
Oh, are you guys doing video?
No.
So, yes. And just to be totally 100% clear, it's not like you've cut the hours back that they used to be able to go so you could have nude recreation time, right?
Right.
When you're doing this, they were never allowed to use the spa anyway.
Right. It was already closed.
So they've lost nothing. In fact, they've gained because from what I'm reading, you guys are investing a lot of time fixing up the facilities. You're making things better. Oh, did you raise the rates massively?
No. We changed some of the pricing, but there hasn't been any crazy increase in pricing. It was more like changing rates for people who are paying a ridiculously low amount, like $25 for the entire year, and that was just from an old deal from the previous management. And so we've kind of made some changes, but nothing drastic. And we cut hours, but we cut regular hours during the week when nobody was there. There were these time periods in the gym when it was absolutely dead. There's one or two people, and we decided we're going to close it from this time period since nobody's there anyway.
So really the issue is all the fact that there's some nudity when they're not there anyway. That's their concern. And just, you are in New Jersey, right? Not some Southern Baptist state or something, right?
Yeah, it's New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's some women calling up the health department, saying is there something illegal about this? Can't you do something about it? And, the health inspector is no, there's nothing illegal going on. It's perfectly fine what they're doing. There's nothing wrong about it.
Well, in the mid 20th century, the YMCA, people had to swim nude. Well, men, it was men only, but they had to swim nude. I mean, you're half nude when you're working out generally anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with removing that piece of fabric that suddenly we're dirtying up all the equipment. I mean, we argue that it's even cleaner after we're there because you don't have bathing suits in the pool releasing, dirt and detergents and what have you. And of course, we say naturists always sit on a towel. So,
if you want to be disgusting, what you do is you take a part of the body and you trap it in a dark, warm, moist environment for a long period of time. That's gross.
Right, yeah.
That's how you get all kinds of bacteria and things growing. That's, yeah. Ugh. But, oh well. Okay, well, I'm glad you're not giving up, though. I mean, so you're still going with it. You're not knuckling in under?
Yes, we're totally still going with it. We definitely are pushing forward and we're not capitulating to anyone. And the good thing is that we actually did have some positive things come out of it because some of the staff actually approached management after they heard about it to ask if they could come in and work on Naturist Sundays.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you should do a press release because, on the other hand, a little controversy is good for getting some attention.
Yeah, we've thought about it. At this point, we're kind of figuring that it's going to hit the press at some point, and we thought about just heading that off before it even happens and writing a letter that can be published in the newspaper there. But I mean, in a way, it'll be good for business, and another way it might be bad, just because it depends on how the media spins it, and it'll be good for Nude Sundays, but then it might also hurt the business for the regular membership.
Yeah, unless I think generally most of these people will come across as kind of intolerant, crazy people because there's no rhyme or reason behind what they're concerned about. But even on the regular textile part of the spa, I think it would, if the place looks good and you're offering a really nice service, people might say, hey, I don't care about that, but that looks like a nice place,
Yeah.
And then you have a whole bunch of people who are reasonable, regular people. You don't want those nuts anyway. Why would you want those crazy people as customers?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's kind of going. We want to be out with the old and in with the new.
Good. Well, I got to find a way to get down there, so because I want to see this for sure.
Yes, come check it out.
So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about though is that the theme of this show is about telling others and telling people that you're a naturist and that kind of thing. AANR and TNS actually did a whole series on sharing your naturism and stuff because they're also trying to encourage people to do that, and I think that's a great idea. So. You're in a way you're fairly open, but I'll start by outing you a little bit by saying that Felicity is actually your pen name, right?
Right.
So why do you use a pen name or nom de plume, as they say in French?
Well, originally, I started using a pen name for privacy and a little bit because of the job that I used to have, and now I just use it for privacy.
So is it because you think it would be bad for you if people knew you were a naturist in your day-to-day life?
No, definitely not. It's just in the same way a writer uses a pen name. Just keep your work life and personal life separate. But I mean, everybody in my life knows. I don't keep it a secret from anyone.
Your family, your parents, your friends?
Yeah, everybody knows.
And have you had any negative reactions?
Nope. No.
Other than your customers at Terlam?
Right, yeah. No, I mean, most of the time, the reaction I get are people are just very curious about it. They might, some are a little shocked if they already knew me. And suddenly they're finding out that I do this, and it's like I'm just not the person they would ever have pictured doing this, so they're like really surprised. But mostly, it's like just people have a lot of questions, and they're just curious.
And does Jordan had any negative reactions, or is he as open as you are?
Yeah, he's as open as I am, and I can't think of any time he's had any negative reactions. Everyone he works with knows about it, um, and his whole family knows about it.
So, what would your advice be? Have you ever discussed this within YNA about telling others or not telling others?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I've blogged about it, and we talk about it. And I do try to encourage other people to tell others, but I can't really like tell people what to do. And I understand why some people don't. I mean, some people are just like, I hear people in our group talk about it, and some of them just think, well, I don't care if my family finds out, but at the same time, I don't want to tell them and have to deal with the reactions that I'm going to get. And they seem to think they'll get, a very negative reaction, and they'll just have to deal with a lot of drama over it.
It, it's interesting because there's not a lot of things that I can think of that people are afraid to tell others they're doing it. I mean, certainly when they find religion in a big way, literally, they go and tell everybody about that. And whatever it is you discover, if you become crazy about golfing or fishing, you tell everybody about that. I guess it's because people still think that naturists are being judged for what they are. And I guess based on what's going on with Terlam, maybe there's some validity to that. Do you think?
Yeah, I think there is. There's definitely still a stigma attached to it, and people definitely are afraid to be judged by other people, and it's still like a bit taboo. It's kind of on par with like sexual deviancy, being a swinger, or you don't want to tell people you do that, or go to a sex club or something. So it's still it's like just slow to becoming accepted, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I'm still a little bit shocked. I'm shocked a little bit by what I'm hearing, what's happening with the club, your spa there, because I don't think of New York and New Jersey as being that different from Ontario. We're so close to each other, and we seem to be such similar people culturally. And I've not had any negative reactions at Bear Oaks after almost 8 years of doing it. And I mean, I'm very well accepted by the town council, and the mayor has come to visit the park, and I'm in a small rural community that's fairly conservative.
Yeah.
So I and maybe there are people who have negative reactions. They just won't say it to my face, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. It does seem pretty silly because it's not like a nude spa is a new concept whatsoever. There's all kinds of spas in New York and New Jersey. Most of them are just gender segregated, so men and women go to different sections.
Well,
But
and there's also mixed gender nude yoga, even, right, all over the place.
well, it's getting more common. But I mean, there's like one class I know of in New Jersey for naked yoga, but it's not that common yet where people would associate it with that. I would say it's more like a fringe thing, although it has been getting a lot more media attention lately. The classes in New York.
So, in terms of the people who are reacting negatively, is there a demographic?
Not that I know of. I mean, there's all ages and women of different backgrounds at the spa. But it has actually been the older women who have been getting more upset about it. The women that have been there the longest, and the ones who complain actually the most, I think.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. So there's the demographic more amongst the complainers and things, and that may be a cultural age thing as well.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe the answer is, if you're younger or you work in a younger environment, or then telling others that you're a naturist, it may not be as big of a problem. But if your job is working with some old people, maybe that's more of a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But I think people tend to be way more afraid and paranoid about telling other people than they need to be. And I think life gets so much easier when you don't have to be so paranoid and when you can be open about who you are.
Mm.
So I think, people would be a lot happier if they just told people about it. And, if you lose a friend over it, well, I'd say that person is probably not a very good friend of yours to begin with.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, and anything else going on with YNA? You guys just had a beach day at last Saturday, I think, right?
Yeah. We have a lot going on. We had a really good gathering at Naturist Resort. Also, the weekend before that, we probably had like 70 people in total come out for that. That was Memorial Day weekend. And we did our glow-in-the-dark yoga class, which was really fun.
What glows in the dark?
We had glow-in-the-dark body paint.
Oh, awesome.
And actually, mostly UV paint. So we had black lights in a room, and then we did yoga.
All right. And as usual, everybody can find out all about that where?
At our website at yna.me.
So for those of you who are AANR members or Nature Society members, you may have seen a series called Sharing Your Naturism. Interesting that's the term used in the AANR bulletin because, as you know, AANR prefers the term nudist. But it's a collaboration between AANR and TNS, the Nature Society. It's a 7-part series, and it's by Rana E. Crozy. My apologies if I mispronounced your name. Who's an EDD, and I'm not sure EDD, I'm not sure what the designation it is, and RN, which I believe is registered nurse. And she talks all about strategies for telling others that you want to be a naturist or a nudist. And, in the initial one, she makes good points. The reason that we don't want to say all this is that we don't want to share it, this personal information, is because you don't really know how people will react. And so that can make you feel vulnerable, and that can be a reason why people aren't doing it. But as she says, but when you can't be totally honest, you find yourself lying, making excuses, or being forced to tell the truth under very unfavorable circumstances. And that's true. That's true because if you don't take the opportunity to let people know, when they find out, it seems very suspicious. And it also, you are entrapped. You can't share what's important to you. And you can't be honest and open with people, which is very uncomfortable. So for a lot of reasons, I think it's important to be open about the fact you're a naturist. Now, it's not a big deal, so you shouldn't make a big thing out of it either. But you should find ways of letting people know. So I took the opportunity to talk to several people, some that I knew had interesting experiences because of telling others, and I asked them to tell their story.
Hello, my name is Nikki. I'm the manager of Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park, and I'm 28 years old.
Now, you've been working at Bear Oaks for how many years now?
This is my 7th summer.
So in your first summer, you came here to work, and you had another job working in daycare. Is that right?
Yes, childcare.
And so when you were doing that, you also, while you were at Bear Oaks, you did a story in the Toronto Star about what it was like to work at Bear Oaks, and they saw that, didn't they?
They did.
So what happened?
Well, I suppose I was naive in thinking that a few people might see it and might ask questions, and it would be a great opportunity for me to teach people about naturism. But instead, apparently people saw it, and I don't know if it's that they had a problem with me being a naturist and working with their children, or if it's that I was nude in the newspaper and I was working with their children. But either way, I was dismissed, and was asked to not come anywhere near the children again.
And was that the end of the story?
That wasn't the end of the story. There was only 1 week left, and they did pay me till the end of my time. I think they wanted just to make sure that things were running kind of smoothly. I asked if it was okay if I gave them a gift, because I'd worked with the kids for the entire year, and I always get very close to the children when I work with them. So I had made them each gifts. I wrote a letter to each of them, since I had a group of just 15 kids, so I knew them fairly well. I put a little Hershey's hug inside of the envelope, and I wanted to deliver them. And when I contacted the company that I worked for to ask if that would be okay to meet with them one last time, they said that was okay, and they apologized. They said that in hindsight, they don't feel like they took the right measures in dismissing me, but they didn't know what to do. They felt like their hands were tied, and they just reacted very quickly. So I was allowed to go back. I was monitored, mind you, by one of their higher-ups in the company to ensure that everything went smoothly. And she wanted to read the letters to make sure I wasn't, saying anything inappropriate to the children. But once it was all understood that things were all on good terms with the kids, and I wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary, then I was allowed to have my last day with them and give them their gifts.
So you never made a big thing, or you never fought?
No. I had support to fight it. I know that I would have had backing, but probably if I had been dismissed without pay, I hate to make it a money thing, but I felt like I understood their position, I suppose, and them feeling kind of vulnerable and uneducated about naturism. So I decided to be quiet about it and cooperative.
So in hindsight, would you have done the story again?
Absolutely. I wouldn't have taken back having done the Toronto Star story. The reason that I wanted to be interviewed, and I felt that it was important for me to have my picture in it, is that I know, as a person who doesn't always keep in touch with the news myself, if I feel drawn in by a photo. So if I was thinking, if other young people see another young person that's nude, then that would be eye-catching, and that they would read it. And naturism is something that I'm passionate about, and so I'm definitely very happy that I had the opportunity to do the article. And I think that after I did the article, and I was willing to lose my other job for it, it proved to me just how passionate I am about it.
So, Peter, we're here at Bare Oaks, and Peter, though, is not your real name, right?
No, it is not my real name.
Even though you've been on the show many times, and we've talked many times, we're now giving up the fact it's not your real name. So, why don't you use your real name?
Well, I don't use my real name because I work for a religiously orientated organization, which I don't believe would easily understand the naturist lifestyle, and I wouldn't want to get into that conversation with them.
What are you, like a priest or a rabbi or something?
No, I'm neither a priest or a rabbi, but I'm in the administrative role within that religiously oriented organization.
So, I've met a young woman that you brought with you once, who works with you in that religious organization, and you've told me that she's quite open about the fact that she's come here and that she's a naturist. So, why is it that you're concerned?
Well,
I should say, did she get fired?
No, she did not.
Was her job impacted in a negative way?
No, and actually she isn't. She doesn't run around saying, "Oh, guess what? I ran around naked again this weekend." She isn't. She's brought up with certain people, but she hasn't. She doesn't hold a banner above her cubicle or anything like that. No, it hasn't been an issue with her. She's not in a management role, so it's probably less of a concern with the organization. She's not as active as I am in the naturist world. She's just occasional, and a lot of it is stories from her past. Not that she has an issue with it. So no, it hasn't affected her role.
In your religious organization, or in the leadership of the religion, shall we say, has there been public pronouncements by the leaders or anything against naturism? Or
the leader of my religious organization and previous leaders have come out and said things in support naturism and of human nudity not being an issue. Of course, my religious organization also values abstinence and monogamy and lifelong commitment to the organization.
Well, that's not in conflict with Naturism.
No, it is not. But any religious organization will have a certain level of fundamentalism, especially in association to certain things. And as we all know, even if you have no religious affiliation, people have a knee-jerk reaction to nudity. And the knee-jerk reaction of most people on nudity is it's either a joke or it's something very offensive or it's something that people are deeply fearful of. So independent of religion or any type of religious argument that's valid, people will have an emotional reaction, and that emotional reaction will guide their thoughts around how they should react to the situations associated with nudity.
So you're probably not actually worried you'll get fired for being a naturist, given the human rights legislation in Ontario and the protection of workers and all that stuff. So what is your concern?
Well, within my organization, I do have a certain image, which I do not believe the Naturism would change, because I am involved within the religious organization on many levels. But because of that prejudice or knee-jerk reaction from certain people, that image would, even though I do represent who I am very accurately, the naturism component for some people would affect me in a negative manner and could affect my future career and involvements in the future and getting more involved within the organization. So I figured I don't need to complicate it. But that being said, I have told co-workers who I'm close to and people who I work with that I am a naturist, who are people who I know I can trust. And I don't keep it a complete secret from everybody. I keep it a secret just from people who just aren't all that, interested or concerned or open-minded enough to understand what we do here.
And the people you told, are they shunning you now?
No, I have not been shunned by anybody who I've told. I've noticed it's pretty safe. I do a very bad job of promotion, though, because of everybody I've told. I've come up with pretty well no converts.
And you also said you haven't told your family. And why is that? What do you think will happen there? Will they stop being your family?
Well, I have told my brother and my sister-in-law and my nephew and my niece. They have no interest in participating, although I guess my nephew loves going around and telling people about it. He thinks it's pretty cool. I wouldn't want to tell my parents because they're older. They'll never understand. They have that firmly ingrained prejudice of what it means to be a part of our religion. And they don't need that kind of stress, really, at their age. So it would be best if they just, believe what they believe. And that's good. And I don't want to, I don't want to stress them out. And this definitely would.
Well, you say definitely. Have you ever discussed the idea of naturism with them to find out what their beliefs and reactions might be?
Oh, you grow, somebody brings you up and you live with them for many years. You get comments like, oh, some crazy naked person did this, or can you believe some nutcase naked was doing that? That conversation comes up from time to time. Just because, you tend to get people who are branded as a crazy naked person every once in a while.
Well, yeah, but some of them are crazy naked people. That's not necessarily naturist, so... And that doesn't mean they would be upset and refuse. What if you were gay? Would you not tell them either?
Oh, well, I've never had to deal with that issue. So that's kind of an unfair reference. But I could see where the two could be, like it is definitely an in the closet sort of thing. And there has been some discussions about where my trailer is. But fortunately, my mother is very used to the comforts of home, so she would never want to come to a place where there was a trailer. So I haven't really need to cross that issue.
Well, we have some really comfortable cabins now that your parents could rent if you wanted.
Yeah, they're not going to do that. No, I know my parents well enough that this would cause them an undue amount of stress that they don't need.
Now, having said all that, it's true though. I'm seeing you telling more and more people. There was a time where you certainly wouldn't have told your brother either, and there was a time where you were far more afraid to have your picture even in Naturist magazines. Now I see you fairly regularly. So are you thinking that it's less of a risk than it was?
I'm of the theory, it might be correct or incorrect, that when people look at a group of naked people in a picture, unless they're naturists, they tend to look at their genitals and private parts and say, "Oh, look what they have showing." That's terrible.
You don't think your mother would recognize your private parts?
No, they've changed since the last time she's seen them quite a bit, and so I think that would be a safe bet. But yeah, and you're usually wearing your sunglasses and your hat, and I don't know, you just don't look the same, And I've run into people fully clothed who I hang around naturist resorts quite a bit, and they've come up to me and and they've said hi, and I'll be unable to recognize who they are. It's kind of that moment where like you're oh hi, who are you again? Oh, from Bear Oaks. Oh, wow, I didn't recognize you in your clothes. I hear that all the time from naturists. Oh, I didn't recognize you in your clothes.
The funny, people keep recognizing me.
You have a really huge mustache. When you have something that stands out that much, I'm sure if I got a really huge tattoo on my face or something, people would start to recognize me either way.
My name's Sabina, and I'm 23, and I work at Bear Oaks.
So, Sabina, you've been a naturist here a long time. You've been working for a few years. Do you tell, at school, when you're at school, do you tell people that you're a naturist?
Absolutely. I even do projects on it.
And what kind of reaction have you been getting?
It's awesome. My teachers really like it, and I usually get really good grades, and I get to do more of what I love.
So, have you lost any friends, or have people told you you're some sort of weirdo because of it?
No. I actually think I've made more.
So, what would you say to people who are afraid to tell others that they're naturist?
If someone doesn't want to be your friend because of it, then you probably don't want to be friends with them. It's an awesome way of living. And
do you think you would potentially not get a job, or do you think it would affect your job if you told people?
I was worried about that at first, but the more that I've gone on, the professionals in my field have said that the experience I've gotten and that I'm open-minded actually will give me better chances of getting a job.
And what field are you going into?
Fundraising and social work.
So, Dennis, you were a police officer for many years and a naturist, but you were keeping it a secret, right?
That's right.
And why? Why weren't you telling anyone?
Well, the reason I wasn't telling anybody was I was afraid that I'd lose my job for some reason.
And I remember at one point I was doing a television interview for the Weather Channel, and you had an interesting experience because nobody knew.
Well, that's correct, because back then I was still on probation, right? And we were in the lunchroom, and they had the Weather Network and so on. And it was a really worn spell that, Ontario was going through. And they went, and this is how some people cope with the heat or whatever. And they're at Glen Echo, the club that I used to belong to and so on. And I'm going, oh my God. And of course, you were there and you gave them an interview and so on. And there's other members that were walking back and forth. And I didn't recall seeing the camera. So I was like, oh my God, I'm in this lunchroom and I'm going to walk by and all my coworkers are going to see this, And then people were going, hey, did you know about these places? And of course, everybody's going, no, I didn't. Did you? And, they asked me the same question. I just said, nope. And I just left.
When did you finally decide to tell people that you were a naturist, and how did you do it?
Well, quite a few times, actually, people that were calling us for service, some of them were actually members of clubs that I belonged to. And I skillfully avoided telling my coworkers because they would ask, well, where did you know this person? But then this one time I went to a call with a partner, and of course we had to speak to a supervisor about the call. And this was in the summertime, and our supervisor was parked in one of the city parks, and of course we parked with him. You know how you see police cars parked beside each other and so on. And we were just discussing the call that we were on, and then a man came by and wanting to speak to the police. And of course I couldn't see who it was just by the fact that I was the passenger in the police car. But I recognized the voice, and the person just said, "Excuse me, officers, I don't mean to trouble you, but there's a Volvo that's been parked on my street on cinder blocks for about a week. When you're free, can you just come down and see, make sure it's not stolen?" So when I bent down and I looked up, I recognized the man, and I said, "Hey, how's it going?" And he goes, "Hey, Dennis, how are you?" So on, so on. "How are things? What's new? Blah, blah, blah." Anyway, and of course, when he left, natural question that my supervisor would ask is, "Oh, where do you know that guy from?" Had I answered right away, there wouldn't have been an issue. But then I hesitated. So, of course, being a trained investigator, he goes, "Oh, so where do you know him from?" And for that split second, of course, while my brain's in the hourglass mode, I'm looking at the two scenarios. If I tell him, if I don't, and I just said, "You know what? Enough is enough. I've been keeping this a secret for about 8 years or whatever." So I just said, "Okay, I belong to a nudist club, and he's a member there, and that's where I know him." Of course, I didn't say Naturist because they wouldn't have understood what that was. So anyway, had I not finished my sentence, that my supervisor was laughing. He was laughing so hard he was slapping the steering wheel to the vehicle he was in, right? And he was saying, "Dennis, on this job, there's been 3 times where I really laughed, and twice it's because of you." So, I trusted him quite a bit. He was an excellent supervisor. And so I just told him, I said, "Well, the reason I didn't say anything was I was afraid that I'd lose my job." And he said, "Why would you lose your job? Are you doing anything illegal?" I go, "No." "You're not breaking any laws?" "No." "If they tried to take your employment or whatever, you'd have such a human rights case. You've got absolutely nothing to worry about." So I felt great about that. Anyway, then we had to drive over to the station to do the report, and the station wasn't too far away, about a 5-minute drive and so on. Now, with all the telecommunication devices we have available to us, the radios, the computers, everything else, we can relay a lot of information to other officers very quickly. But nothing is more efficient than somebody at work, "Hey, I know something that you don't," or something juicy or whatever. No sooner had I walked into the front desk of the station, another supervisor was standing at the front desk, and of course, very loudly, so everybody could hear, "Hey, Dennis, is it true that you're a nudist?" And I just said, "It sure is." And that pretty much took the wind out of his sails and so on. And that was pretty much the end of it. Of course, for the rest of the week, people would walk up to me like a little child wanting to ask you a question. So is it true? And of course I would say, "Yeah, of course it is." And of course they would ask me all sorts of questions that they usually do. And that's pretty much it.
And so there was no repercussions? You weren't harassed, or people weren't, you didn't affect your job?
No, not at all. Of course, jokingly, they kind of referred to it as being a special skill that I had or something like that. Anyway, because of course, if anybody was streaking or whatever, they would call on me because, well, you speak their lingo and so on. But a particular incident was a summertime. Usually there's not that many officers on the weekends, or depending which month it is, because a lot of people take holidays, right? But this one time, coincidentally, it was a night shift, and there were so many of us, they didn't have enough police cars. So they took 4 officers, they put them in a van, and they sent them patrolling in the city park that's in our division. And around 4 o'clock in the morning, that car, I guess their call sign was a special car. Anyway, so of course they called the radio, or the dispatcher, and special car call radio, and of course the dispatcher answers, "Go ahead. Dispatch, we were trying to investigate this male jogger in the park there, but of course he got away from us. I'll just give you a description of him in case anybody runs into him." "Go ahead." Male, white, about 5'10", 170 pounds. I'll give you a clothing description when you're ready. Go ahead. Baseball cap, running shoes, and socks. And that's it. So, of course, the dispatcher, laughing, goes, 10-4. So I turned to my partner, And I go, okay, here we go. Sure enough, the officer goes, special car call, and go ahead. Just so everybody knows, it wasn't PC Dennis. So, of course, ha, 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 ha. But, and they weren't being disrespectful. They're just poking fun at me or whatever. And that's just the way it is,
And you're working for a very large police force. Are you the only one, do you think, who's a nudist in the force?
No, actually, I guess when the word got out, a few other members from other stations or whatever approached me and asked me, and they were relieved and everything else. And no, it's quite common. It's people from all walks of life. It's great.
So would you have any advice for people in terms of if they're not sure if they want to come out or how to do it or how to cope with it?
Well, I mean, once people know, then you don't have to worry about it and so on. The advice I would give is if you have a supervisor or, somebody like that at work that you really trust and so on, you could ask them, and they'll let you know. And again, of course, it's not illegal at all. It's just we've been socialized that, you don't take your clothes off when you're outside and so on. So, of course, for the general population, at first it might be a bit unusual, but I mean, you can tell it's more acceptable now. I mean, in Canada, we now have 2 official nude beaches and so on. So, I mean, it's accepted more and more, and the more people know about it, well, the more it's just average, everyday things going on.
Joanne, you're a pretty new naturist, aren't you?
I'm very new. I actually came last year and visited a couple times, but this year I'm coming and I'm going to enjoy it more on a full-time.
If you're coming full-time, you must think it's all right.
I do, and actually, it's actually gotten a lot easier, and it's definitely all right, and I love it, and I just want to keep coming back.
Have you told your friends, your neighbors, your relatives?
I've told them on a need-to-know type of basis. I haven't, just volunteered the information. If I'm, talking about it, I don't hide if somebody's asked what I've done on the weekend or what I'm going to be doing this weekend. I don't try to hide that because I like to be truthful about it, so.
You're not afraid that people are going to treat you differently or stop being your friends or shun you in general?
I am. There is a stigma that's placed on it. I have developed a fear about it. I want to let that go. And I think it's just because of just years and years and years of conditioning myself to be clothed and have to be clothed in society, and how it's not deemed appropriate in a lot of situations to be naked.
So what kind of reactions have you been getting from people?
It's funny because I have a girlfriend who was a very much very natural person growing up, and it was her, that type of attitude that actually drew me to her as a friend. And it's funny because now that I'm going to Naturism and I've brought it up to her, I was actually shocked at her response, and she kind of sarcastically laughed about it, like almost like a nervous under her breath laugh, like almost directing, like I'm the one that has the issue.
So she's not going to come, and she doesn't think it's a good idea?
I don't think so. I don't think I can get her to come unless I can. I have no idea how I could get her to come, because I feel like she's so stuck in her ways now. And I mean, the only thing I can do is try to get her back to that whole natural way of life again.
People do laugh when they're nervous. When things make them uncomfortable, laughter is one reaction that people have to cope with it.
Yeah, I can, and that's what I noticed from it. It seemed to be like a really nervous kind of putting it off on her like putting it onto me, taking that nervousness off of her, and it was interesting to see that reaction.
So maybe she's not as close to it as you think. Maybe she just doesn't know how to cope, because emotionally it's a very difficult thing to get over.
Well, it's funny because I was actually having a conversation with her last weekend about children, and she was also a type of person that used to want to have children. And as she got older, she actually seemed to become more stuck in her ways. And she actually said to her that she might be too selfish now to be able to give herself to children.
Interesting. And any other people have reactions that were good or bad?
Yep. I have a neighbor who's very religious, and like her family is very religious. And it was funny because I kind of brought it up to her as more of a matter-of-fact way again, and I did kind of put it in the context of with my children, so that, and with other children, and sharing that there was like a society of other kids, that just to kind of take the edge off of the stigma that's usually placed on places like this.
And what was her reaction?
She didn't seem to have any kind of reaction to me outwardly. She wasn't overly talkative, or she didn't seem to inquire about it at all. But she just didn't. It wasn't kind of a reaction that was neither aggressive or inquiring or shocked or anything like that. It was, if it was, she might have had it on the inside and not confronted me with it.
So, positive reactions too, or?
I haven't really had any positive reactions, to be honest with you.
So neutral or negative is what you'd say?
It's been neutral or negative, yeah.
So despite all that, you're still going ahead with it?
I am, because there's the people here that it doesn't seem to bother me. I'm in a position right now where I don't seem to care anymore about what people think and the judgment that they place on me. So I'm going to do what makes me happy. And this makes me happy.
So you have here a variety of situations, a variety of reactions. And I'll tell you in a minute my opinions, but I'll continue with Rana's advice. And what is a very good point is she says that you should prepare for an unexpected disclosure. Because if you're not telling anybody, you should still be prepared to tell them. Because if you don't prepare, and it does happen for whatever reason, you won't know what to say, and you'll really look guilty. It'll really make it look bad. So if you want to practice, and if you want to actually come out slowly, if you will, she suggests doing first with your safest friends. And I think that's very good advice as well. She also makes a good point that one of the concerns we have is we know that there's people who believe that nudity is sinful, that nudism is illegal, that all nudists are swingers, and that children in naturist parks are at risk of abuse. And I really need to do that podcast on children where we'll deal about all that. But it's important to know that you don't believe that. It's important to understand why you don't believe that, so you don't appear guilty if you're caught out. And another good point that Rana makes is that if you don't tell your close friends and family members and they find out otherwise, not only will they be suspicious about the activity, that you felt the need to keep it a secret, but I think that she says, and I agree with her, they might feel hurt. They might feel that you kept something from them and that you don't fully trust them. And in terms of telling your employer, and she has a whole article on that, she talks about a whole strategy, and it may depend on which country you're in and what the rules are. In Canada, it'd be very difficult to be discriminated against based on naturism. But as Peter pointed out, the discrimination may not be overt, it might be subtle. But sometimes if you do come out, then in a way you could be protected because you could claim that's the reason that you're being discriminated against or you're not getting the promotion. So one good way that she suggests is to try to find a way of telling your manager, your direct supervisor. And you have to develop a relationship with them to understand what the situation is. Because if you do, and you can tell them in a social situation outside work, first of all, it means that they don't necessarily have to react if there's a company policy against what you're doing. Although you should check into that first, as she points out. But it also makes it unofficial, allows your supervisor to not necessarily have to do anything about it. But if it ever comes out in the future, the advantage of your supervisor knowing is that they can say, oh, yes, I know all about that. And I can diffuse the situation if somebody finds out, thinks it's scandalous, and brings it up to your supervisor. They can therefore defend you. But to do that, you have to have a good supervisor, somebody you trust, and somebody you're willing to work with. So it's an interesting article, and you can get it through the Naturist Society, or you can get it through the American Association for Nude Recreation, AANR magazine / newspaper called The Bulletin. And so I suggest taking a look at that. But let me tell you my short version of how to tell others. I think the key in my opinion is to tell. And it's to bring it out. But not in a way like you're making an announcement like it's a big issue. It's not a big issue. What you do on your weekend isn't really of anybody's business. I used to say, we used to go camping. I just didn't feel the need to announce what I was wearing while I was camping. Of course, Naturism, especially if you're an ethical naturist, is a little bit more than just being nude and not wearing clothes. But still, that's the big problem. That's the thing that we're all afraid that we're going to be judged by. But I will say that I'm very open about the fact I'm a naturist. I have to be. I'm the owner of Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park. I'm in the media, and I have been for a few decades now on a regular basis. I will say that I've never had a negative reaction. I mean, all kinds of reactions. People are surprised, they are puzzled, they're inquisitive, they're embarrassed because they imagine me naked, I guess. They laugh, they're giddy, they ask a lot of questions. Now, maybe behind my back, they go, hey, what a weirdo. I don't know. Because nobody's ever said it to my face. Is that because of my personality? Well, partially. Partially because I say it with a lot of confidence. I think if you come across and you say something when you sound unsure, if people, kind of smell blood, I think that's when you're going to get attacked even harder. And that's where they're going to suspect that their suspicions are correct and that it is all about sex and that it is perverted or whatever it is they're thinking. But I always when I talk about what we're doing, I talk about the positive stories, not about being nude. I talk about how much fun the kids had on the beach, how beautiful it is to see older people relaxing and so comfortable with who they are, and how raising our children to not see the human body as this sexualized thing and objectified thing, raising boys that are respectful of women, raising women who are comfortable with themselves and their bodies, whatever it is. I tell these stories. And I've said before, a neat way is to leave something laying around, something that will raise the question. So you're not making an announcement. That's one of the reasons I made the Bear Oaks mugs with the cartoon characters that are nude on it. You can put that down, you can drink your coffee out of it, and people will ask you questions, maybe make jokes, and that gets the conversation started. And believe me, once a conversation is started, you can have lots and lots and lots of discussions. It can go on for a long time. People like to talk about it. People are very curious and they tend to ask a lot of questions. You could be a pen, it could be a pamphlet, it could be a book that you just leave laying around. Then you can say, oh yes, well, that's a place I go to, or yes, that's a philosophy I'm really interested in. Do you want to know more about it? And then you have to be prepared for that discussion. And that's very important. You have to know what you believe in. I've seen that in religious people too. If religious people don't fully understand what their faith is about, when they're confronted, they get very defensive, and it seems like there's something wrong with that religion, that they can't even debate or discuss it. And it's the same thing with Naturism. You have to really know what you're talking about and believe know why you believe in it, and know all the answers. And, the answers are easy to get. I have an easy time with the debate because, I've written a lot of these brochures. I've done these podcasts. I've been doing media interviews for a long time. I know all the questions and I know all the answers ahead of time. But they're easy to find. They're published. On the Bare Oaks website, we have first-timer questions. Pretty much every question first-timers ask are on there. And then there's the children's section. All those concerns about children are in there, and they're addressed in that section as well. And that's just on the Bare Oaks website, the AANR website, the Nature Society website, the Federation of Canadian Naturists website, the Fédération Québécoise de Naturisme website, all have sections. I'm sure British Naturism and Australian Naturism and all those all have sections as well that help you understand. And that's the key, not memorize, but understand. You don't want to sound like you're reciting some dogma. You want to understand why children are not at risk. Because if you understand it, it's very easy to have the discussion. You don't have to remember a line. You'll understand the rationale, and it'll be very easy to discuss it. So the idea that Rhonda suggests, which is to come out to people you trust, people who you know are going to react okay, is also a good one because it allows you to then practice on them. Practice with somebody who you know will give you a chance. Or practice with another naturist. Practice with a friend that you know, a spouse. Have somebody play the devil's advocate. I've just done that with one of our staff member who wants to speak with his ex-wife to convince her that it's okay to bring their child. So practice, and understand, and speak with confidence. And I think if you can do that, almost everybody will be on your side and everybody will understand. They may not want to participate, and you're not trying to convince anybody. You're not trying to convert anybody. You just want them to accept who you are. And so, if they understand and they're willing to accept it, then I think you're good. If they can't accept you for doing something which, in my opinion, is so natural, then maybe they're not good friends and maybe they don't belong in your life anyway. But that's a decision you have to make. I can't make that one for you. Well, that's all for this episode of the Naturist Living Show. Thank you, as always, for listening. My name is Stéphane Deschênes, and I'm your host for this podcast and the owner of Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. All the things I mentioned about, not that many in the show, but a few at the beginning, there are links to them all in the show notes, and it's on the show's website at naturistliving, one word, naturistliving.bareoaks, BAREOAKS, bareoaks.ca. Please keep sending your comments and suggestions. I always appreciate reading them. You can send them to our show's email address, which is naturistliving, again, one word, at bareoaks, BAREOAKS.ca, because we're in Canada. But I'd love to get more audio comments we can play. I think it's more interesting for everyone, just like Michael at the beginning of the show. And so you can call. You can call using an old-fashioned telephone, country code 1, area code 905-473-6060. That's the main number for Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. And then just dial extension 333. You don't have to talk to a person. There's a computer that answers. You just dial extension 333. And if you have Skype, you can go directly to the phone system that way as well, just by typing Bare Oaks, BAREOAKS, as one word in Skype. And then that puts you in a phone system, and you just dial extension 333 once again. Join us again in about a month for the next episode of the Naturist Living Show.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show was brought to you by Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. Traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Traditional values means that naturism is more than just taking your clothes off. It is a life philosophy with physical, psychological, environmental, social, and moral benefits. Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park strives to promote those naturist values in a modern setting that provides the amenities and services that our members and visitors expect. Free your body, free your mind. Learn more at www.bareoaks.ca. Naturism.